Good evening, and welcome to another excruciating version of Diatribes. Now here's your expurgatory and extemporaneous host, Voice of Doom. Hello. Alright, I'm going to do another diatribe because I feel like it. Talk about the upcoming so-called election, which probably won't happen. But in case it does happen, I will give you a brief analysis according to what I'm seeing about the outcome. Now, let's see. Few little remarks I want to make. Your time has expired. I get really sick of that because that's what I hear during these congressional hearings all the time. Each member gets 5 minutes to either pontificate or ask questions and not wait for the answer, or ask questions and not get a decent answer, or just basically waste time because they're not getting anywhere. They can't make any headway. Their time expires and they move on to the D's, who usually praise to high heaven whoever's on the stand, if it's Fauci or Grandma Garland or Fay Ray or anybody else who's on the stand. You're doing a great job. We appreciate you. And I'm sorry for my colleagues who are lambasting you, calling you a dirty, rotten piece of crap. But I just get sick of hearings. I miss the old days back in the Watergate era when you could ask questions for weeks. And when you're done, then you're done. But that might have gotten a little long. A hearing would take like 3 or 4 months. But they got rid of Richard Milhouse, didn't they? Now, there's people on various congressional committees that I see now and again, and I gotta say, they are spitfires, man. There's this one chick on the whatever judiciary, I don't know what she's on, Victoria Spartz, Ukrainian born in 1978, I believe. And she puts all our other Congress people to shame, because not only does she get her 2 cents in, but she asks questions that these idiots can't answer, because to answer them would mean to hang themselves. I'm sorry, I cannot answer your question because to do so would mean my demise. So she's really good, and too bad she's not born in the U.S., what used to be A, because she would be a great president. I would vote for her unhesitatingly, without any qualms whatsoever. She would make one of the best first female presidents in the history of this planet. Because I really like her, and you should check her out, Victoria Spartz. I really think she's great. But let's go on. What am I seeing? Okay, the election. Now, I did a flow chart, and I was going to write it down, but I ran out of paper. I've filled up every damn freaking folder I have with crap. But I want to do a flow chart on if this happens, then this happens. If this goes here, then this goes here. If this. That's a flow chart. It's very easy to understand the flow of data, the flow of information by using a flow chart. Now, we have 2 candidates, by and large. We may have more outliers, and those outliers may make a difference. They may not win, but they'll make a difference. Let's talk about RFK Jr., who I cannot stand listening to. His voice is so irritating that it grates on my ears. And I don't really agree with much of what he says, but he's in the Kennedy tradition, and he's wondering why, if he's a major candidate for the presidency of what used to be, why he's not getting any Secret Service protection. And many of the media touts and wags and talking heads are going, yeah, that seems strange considering your family history of constantly being assassinated, that they wouldn't give you protection. And to that I say, I think that RFK should thank his lucky stars that he's not being protected by the Secret Service. Because if it turns out that he becomes a factor in whether or not Petri dish will be reelected, then that same Secret Service will deal with him. If he gets 15 or 20% of the people who would normally vote D, then he's a threat. So I think that RFK should just kind of go about his daily business without any Secret Service, because you don't need that. And I won't get into detail why, but I don't trust them. But let's get into the election. Now we have two major candidates. On the Gopper side, we have a convicted felon, a rogue, a populist, a misogynist, a racist, a white supremacist, absolutely the worst person who ever walked the planet, according to some people who will never vote for him no matter what. He could cure cancer. He could stop every war on the planet. No, we hate you. So there's nothing to change that. If there was something to change that, he would be up by about 90%, with Petrie getting the lunatic fringe. But just people can't have that because they have TDS. Now, on the other side, we have a person named Petri dish who is incontinent and cannot function as a human being anymore. And we're expected in 5 months to re-elect this person for 4 more years, which means, for all intents and purposes, we're electing the vice president to be president, who will be an incompetent, cackling gargoyle who has no business being in politics, let alone being in the highest office in what used to be. So, that's a dilemma. Do we vote for a convicted felon who half the country hates for no good reason, or do we vote for an incontinent, demented person in the throes of senility who will not possibly last another 2 years, let alone 4, and who has been nothing but incompetent for his entire tenure as president? Oh, you don't know how great he is. He did the Infrastructure Act. Look how much better things are with the Infrastructure Act. Look how all these bridges are being built. No, they're being destroyed. Look at our supply chain, worse than ever. Look at our production. Look at our GDP. Look at how good we're doing. Yeah, with all the chicken farms burning down, egg farms burning down, cattle farms burning. Come on. There's a plot going on, and we all know it, and I won't go into that. I'm talking about the election. Okay. So both candidates are unacceptable, but one's got to win. Now, when you listen to the wags and the touts, and these are not people that are conspiracy theorists, they're not Alex Joneses, they're not Tuckers, who's actually a sentient human being, but he's been relegated to the lunatic fringe. It's just regular people in the news, talk radio, whatever, that are assuming that the D's are going to cheat. It's already baked into the mix. Now that's a horrible thing to say about what used to be a country that kind of used to pretend to be a democracy, which it's not. That they would count up the votes and legitimately give it to the person who won the most electoral votes according to the outcome of the votes of the states. But now they're just assuming that the Democrats are going to cheat their asses off, so they have to win by an even higher margin to make up for the cheating. That's sad to think that. But there will be cheating, and for the Republicans to try to play the same game, the goppers, will be a mistake, because if they're caught even changing one vote or throwing away one vote, if one gopper is caught doing any malfeasance, then it's all over. It's off to the gulag for all of you, because that's how the system works. The D's can cheat their asses off with impunity, and nobody says boo about it, and if you say boo about it, you get put on trial, aka Georgia. Oh, I question this outcome. Well, we're going to put you on trial for election interference. Now, all of Orangey's trials are being set, they're going by the wayside. They're not going to happen. And the ones that have already happened are going to be overturned by the Supreme Court. That's the only bastion of justice we have left. Because they'll look at the last conviction and go, to call it a kangaroo court is an insult to kangaroos. It was, I don't know if you remember the guy in Nazi Germany who was trying the conspirators during the Valkyrie incident, when the guy von Valkenburg, whatever his name is, tried to kill Hitler, and all the generals and everybody else were executed. It was a judge who was just like this judge we have now, Merchant, and his end was swift. Right near the end of the war, he got plowed into the ground, literally. But that's what we have now for a justice system now. So those are the two choices we have, and neither one is going to be acceptable. If Petri dish wins, it means that either a majority of what used to be the United States, the populace, are absolutely evil, gone, have no brain capacity, and we're populated by organisms that are malignant. If he wins legitimately. If he wins by cheating, there's going to be all hell to pay, and then all the goppers that say there was cheating will be jailed. And Petri dish will go on until he can no longer stand up, and then Gargoyle will take over, and what used to be this country will become nothing but a desolate wasteland of nuclear waste. So Orangey, who's on a tear and is getting support everywhere, has every indication that he's going to win. If you look at popularity as a barometer, which has nothing to do with anything. It has to do with what the elites want. Now, if he does win, well, all hell's going to break loose, because all these wokester idiots are going to take to the street and start crying again and start gluing their hands to the freeways. And they'll release another pandemic or do whatever they have to do to stymie this guy and start impeaching him from day one. Start impeaching him before he even takes the oath of office. It'll be November 6th or 7th. We're starting the impeachment on Orangey. Well, based on what? Well, based on what he's about to do. We don't care. We just start it now. So we have other alternatives. Somehow Petri is forced to drop out of the race. Well, that will make it interesting. They have such a huge slate of candidates to replace him. That would be great. They have a governor of California that's running the state into the ground, that has to start doing a yard sale and an elephant sale of all the infrastructure, the police, the fire department, in order to not be in Section 8 or whatever, bankruptcy. We have Gargoyle, who's as bad as you can get, and we have other D's that can't possibly function as human beings. I don't know, Hakeem Jeffries. I don't even know who the hell he is, but yeah, he'll put him in there. Maybe he'll have a fighting chance against Orangey. Okay. Now let's just say Orangey is somehow taken out of the picture by whichever means they find necessary. And E33 stays in the race. Then the D's are really in trouble because they won't have the TDS to deal with. They'll have somebody like DeSantis or Cruz or I don't care who. There's billions of goppers who can take over right away and beat Petri dish. And they won't have the TDS to deal with. So that'll be a runaway. So the only way to have a real election in November is to have someone like DeSantis or Scott or the other Scott from Florida or I don't care who against some idiot Democrat who can't do anything. And it'll be a fair fight, and it'll be something we didn't expect at all. Neither Petri dish nor Orangey were in the race. And I think the goppers will win because what happens is that whoever does the worst job over the last 4 years usually ends up being ousted. And nobody's done worse than Petri dish. He's a disgrace to human existence. And I'm not proud to even be in the same species as he is. But I don't think he's a human being, so I'm not worried about that. Now, as a code, I will say I'm disgusted, dismayed, and not surprised that the First Lady, who's one of the worst people who ever occupied this planet, went to the D-Day ceremonies and then found it necessary to take a jumbo jet, private military jet, back to what used to be the United States for one day to be at the trial of his no-account stepson, of her no-account stepson, who's facing gun charges, who will be found guilty and given a light sentence, a slap on the wrist that you won't even feel, and then he can go on to his tax charges. But she flies back for one day just to be at the trial, not for moral support for him. She hates his guts. Can't stand him for all the trouble he's caused by leaving his stupid-ass computer at a damn frickin' computer store. Idiot. So she hates him, but she's going to be there as an intimidating factor to stare down the jury saying, look, I'm the queen of this state of Delaware, and you live in Delaware, and I can see your face, and I have a photographic memory. So you better do the right thing or you are going to be in a little bit of trouble. And flies right back to damn France for a dinner party. And then they're freaking yelling at us about carbon footprints and how we should stop using gas and stop using cars and stop using fossil fuels and stop using fans and stop using air, stop using everything, in fact die. If we elites had our way, you would all be dead. And she's going back and forth just to be at a damn little trial of her stepson, who she hates. So, I'll leave it there. I think I said enough, and I think it was a pretty good one. I gave you a very good rundown of what our future is. There won't be an election in November, so forget that. There's going to be a black swan. And it's going to be either the bird flu or the swine flu or Nipah Nipah or Ebola or Ebola or Edola or something. Or an all-out nuclear war and martial law. No election. So never mind that. Don't worry about it. Alright, goodbye. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.